In case you don't recognize the people up here, these are family of Gary and Janet Alleman. 50 years ago, this handsome young man walking up the aisle said, "I do." But they had never had a church wedding. They had it at a JP, right? All right. And there's some funny stories about that day. You can ask Janet or Gary. I've heard some of them. And but you know what sort of is carried out in that? That sometimes young couples today miss. It's not the wedding. It's not how fancy the wedding is. It's not how much money you spend on the wedding. It's not the venue. All of those things are nice. But what makes the marriage last is commitment. It's a privilege to have each of you here to witness this recommitment, first ever church wedding of this young couple. 50 years in. That's something exciting. You may be seated. Who gives this woman to be married to this man?
I do. Son, Gary.
She's all yours. You know, I had a lot of fun with this. I looked back to get the vows and the declaration of intent that I remember hearing as a child. I was born in 71. You don't hear them worded this way currently, but some of you might recognize as we go through. Gary, I'm going to repeat a paragraph, and at the end, if you agree, I'm going to ask you to say, "I do." Gary, of your own free will, do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, in good times and woe, for richer or poorer, keeping yourself unto her for as long as you both shall live? If so, will you answer, "I do"?
I do.
Janet, of your own free will, do you take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, in good times and woe, for richer or poorer, keeping yourself unto him for as long as you both shall live? If so, answer, "I do."
I do.
The next part is something I have always wanted to do, and they won't let you do it anymore. So I'm going to really enjoy this. I get to ask if anyone can show just cause why this couple cannot lawfully be joined together in matrimony. Let them speak now or forever hold their peace. Wonderful. Seeing none, we can continue. I did some looking at things that happened in 1970. One of the things was that Orville Redenbacher paid an advertising company $13,000 to come up with a name for his popcorn company. Their advice was to call it Orville Redenbacher. There is honor tied to your name. There is honor tied to your name. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23 says, above all else, guard your affections, for they influence everything else in your life. A little handy-dandy product was introduced in 1970 called Crazy Glue. Now, I'm not going to talk about the crazy part, though we could. I'm going to talk about the glue part. Scripture says in Ephesians, a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united in one. I think that must have happened to make it 50 years. The third thing that I found was interesting trivia is in 1970, a bomb exploded in the Senate chamber of the Louisiana State Capitol building and left a pencil embedded in the ceiling, where it remains to this day. Experience is earned. Experience is earned. You don't make it 50 years without some experience. Maybe there might have even been a few bomb explosions. Those experiences, those memories, you don't get those without that level of commitment. It never happens. The first time there's a tough experience, it's gone. There's no memory. Nobody sticks around long enough to remember. Experience is earned. And finally, the last thing that happened in 1970 is, well, the last thing that I looked up that happened in 1970, this bit of trivia, is in the Mr. Olympia final, the judges could not decide between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sergio Olivia. So the two of them, Arnold and Sergio, exhausted, agreed to walk off. But Arnold, after taking one step, turned back to the judges and started posing again and won. Never give up. Never give up. It is an absolute privilege for those of you that have made it a whole 9 years, like my wife and I, or 10 or 11 or 15 or 20 or 25 or 30. You haven't made it yet. Never give up. Gary, I'm going to ask if you would allow your bride to hand off her bouquet. And if you would turn and face each other and hold both hands. You can tell me later how long it's been since you've done this, looked at each other's eyes. I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. I, Gary, take thee, Janet,
I, Gary, take thee, Janet,
to be my wedded wife,
to be my wedded wife,
to have and to hold,
to have and to hold,
from this day forward,
from this day forward,
for better, for worse,
for better, for worse,
for richer, for poorer,
for richer, for poor,
in sickness and in health,
sickness and in health,
to love and to cherish,
to love and to cherish,
till death do us part,
till death do us part.
according to God's holy ordinance.
According to God's holy ordinance,
I thereby pledge you my faith.
I hereby pledge you my faith.
Janet, if you repeat after me. I, Janet, take thee, Gary, to be my wedded husband, to have and to hold, from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, till death do us part, according to God's holy ordinance. I thereby pledge you my faith. Gary and Janet, I give you this blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. I'd just like to pray with you. Father, Lord, what a privilege to stand here and celebrate 50 years of a commitment. A commitment that has worked. A commitment that didn't start with a fancy wedding, didn't start with a lot of money, didn't start with what might be considered all of the necessary stuff, but started with a foundation of commitment that has lasted. Lord, I pray that you would bless Gary and Janet, that you would bless this community. Lord, that you would continue to be present and working in their lives. That you would continue to draw them toward you and toward each other. That they would continue to be an example of what can be, what should be in the world around us. In your name we pray. Amen. With the authority given me by the state of Pennsylvania and the Brethren in Christ Church, and hearing your vows, it is my joy to celebrate your renewed commitment with you. I would ask that you would turn and face the congregation. And Gary, you may now lay a heavy kiss on your bride. It is my privilege. It's my privilege to be able to introduce this young couple. I'm going to ask that they stand at the back double doors in the tradition of that time, which was a greeting line. And you can congratulate them as you go out. You may or may not want to shake their hand based on the times that we're living in, and they won't be offended. So you make that decision on your own. But at least you can tell them congratulations as you go this morning. With that, it's my privilege to present to you the foreknown Mr. and Mrs. Gary Alleman.